everyone. So welcome to Sunday's class. Yesterday, Saturday, I spoke about how to do pivot table and to create a field using pivot table. So today we'll take it a step higher. So today we'll take it a step higher by using pivot chart and how to create interactive and dynamic dashboards, right? Just on a very high level, right? So we'll pick up from when we stopped yesterday, right? So we had these charts, right, that showed the stores and the various producers and everything, right? So just to make it much simpler, right? I'll remove the period from filter. I'll take my products to filter. Right. So or maybe product group instead, right? Product group to filter, right? And well, I think my product. Let me remove my products. How many products do we have? We have quite a lot. Okay. So let me take my product group out, right? So now what all we have is the profits and some of volumes for the different types, right? The convenience store, hypermarket, and supermarket, right? Now, how can we make it a bit more dynamic? It's a bit more dynamic, right? First, let's create a chart, right? Let's create a simple bar chart using the volume, right? So what we'll just do is go to our analysis tab, right? You can see pivot chart, right? You can just create a pivot chart, right? A very simple one, right? Okay. We have okay this okay, so if you go to the chart here, right, want sum of products for the different things, because convenience store is way too high for it, right? So they're way too high. The proportion of volume and everything is way too high, right? So let's use something else, right? So instead of using type, let's see product group instead, right? And let's remove the type, right? Now, okay, perfect. This is more like it, right? So we have the sum of products and the sum of profit, right? Will obviously be the same thing, right? Same proportion, right? For we have a chart that shows the proportion of the volume and profit, right? So let's say I want to do another chart now, right? So let me bring this, right, and bring it further down here, right? I hope you can see my screen, right? And so if I copy this pivot table, right, I bring it here, it's like I just copied a new pivot table, right? And now instead of doing this, let me do so let me remove profit, right? I remove my profit field, and I want to show what I want to show now, right? To be honest, I'm just trying different things, right? There's no one way, right? So let's say I want to see the producers now, right? So product group, right? Producers, right? So this is the chart of the products groups, right? And do the chart, and I want to create the chart for the producers, right? I'll just come here and go to analyze, right? Pivot charts as well. Click on okay. You can create multiple charts depending on the chart you want to create, right? So let me change the chart. Let me just do like a bar chart or something, right? So I have a bar chart. Obviously, this is a lot, right? So now we have let's let's focus on this one, right? So we have our product group and we have the sum of the total profit and the sum of volume, right? So let me remove some of the volume and just keep it as profit. So we have our profit chart, right, for this, right? So let's say we want to create like something very dynamic, right? That can filter for maybe the period or filter for the type, right? So this is all the product group, right? But let's say we want to see the product group list for only convenience store or for only hyper market or supermarket. How do we do it? Right? We can as well bring this type and put it in filter and say, okay, give me for only convenience stores, and it gives for convenience stores, or for only hypermarket and give for hypermarket, right? But let's do something different, right? Instead of that, right, I remove this, right? I can come to design, my pivot table analysis and click on a slicer, right? So this is just a dynamic way to do it, right? A dynamic way to put filter on your table, right? So and I go to type. So the slicer I want to put is type for type of market, right? So if I put my slicer here, let me reduce this, right? Just for us to sit at a go, right? So now, if I click on convenience store, you see it gives me it filters it for convenience store, right? Both the table and the graph. If I click on supermarket, you see it filters it for supermarket. If I click on hypermarket, it filters for hypermarket. If I click on convenience stores, it filters for convenience stores, right? And if I'm see for all of them, I clear my filter and it selects for all of them, right? So a filter, I can put filter on many things. You can put multiple filters. So all I need to just do is click on this, right? Go to my pivot table analysis, um, click on, sorry, I say filters, slicer. Click on slicer, and I can put slicer on producer as well, right? So I see my producers, all my producers, and I bring it here, right? So I can say, give me my hypermarket, and I want to see for Ole Brilla, right? I can say I want to see for this, right? So you got, I mean, it's as dynamic as you want, right? So it's very simple, very easy to use, and somebody can come here and say, okay, no, I want to see for I want to see um for Aqua, right? Aqua is only in convenience store. But let's say if I see all the producers in market, right? And if I see market and hypermarket, so I can just control key and select both of them. So it could show me for supermarket and hypermarket, right? I want to see for this particular producer, right? This, right? So it shows me what I want, right? So it's quite very dynamic um, interface, right? One more thing, right? Sorry, no one more thing, two more things. The first thing is that now, uh, and let's say I want to show, no, our main page, we also had periods. So we have dates, right? Different years, different months, different quarters. If I come here, next one to do is click on this, right? And I go to um, timeline, right? So how do you show a timeline? So if I put a timeline is almost like a slicer, but it only works for time, right? Also for time. So it's just for periods, right? So what would I mean before I can use a timeline, this will be formatted as dates, right? So it must be in the proper date format, right? For Excel to note that that is a date, right? So if I come to access timer, because it sees that as date, I click on period. So you notice that it's not bringing me all other columns, only bringing me periods because timeline is only for periods. I can okay, right? And what you can see is that I break it down here, right? So this is just my interactive dashboard, right? So now, right, make it smaller bit. So I can click on August 2023. So we have 2022, 2021. So give me for January, February alone, for March 2022. So I'm seeing this by month. I can also do this by year. So I'm seeing for 2021 alone, for 2022 alone. I can see for Hypermarket 2022, Hypermarket Bella 2022. So I can drill down, right? So it's the possibilities are endless, right? I can also do so let me remove the filter. I can also do it by days, right? If you want that granular, right? I can do it by quarter, right? So 2021 Q1, 2021 Q2, and I can select multiple quarters, right? So I'll see all the Q1s, right? Right. I want Q1 2021. I want Q1 22. Like you can see you can play around with it, right? So now last thing I'd like to talk about and let me filter it for everything is that if I'm moving this, right, this filter is only affecting this chart because this chart was created from this pivot table, right? If I create another chart, right, so let's say I create this is another pivot table, and I think I have a chart somewhere down here, right? So let me bring it up so we see, right? Uh, yeah, this is a now. So this filter only works on this table, right? And this chart is connected to this table, right? So if I'm moving my filter to maybe this, right? You can see it's only this that is changing. This is remaining the same because it's not connected. So what I can do is that I can connect my slicer and my timeline to both tables, right? All I have to do is click on the slicer, right? So when I click on it, right, and you can see report connections, right? So see that it's only connected to pivot table one. If I click on this, right? So this is now connected to both pivot tables, right? So if I click on supermarket, you can see that it will also change it here, right? So, but now I want to collect all of them. So I connect my producers as well, come to report connections and click on table 2, right? And come to my timeline as well. I click report connections, click on table 2, right? So now these slicers are for all tables, I mean all the various pivot table I have on this sheet, right? So I can just manipulate it, right? And they all together changes, right? Just think of the possibility when you want to show like I mean present the reports at work, right? The possibilities are endless. I'm totally mind blowing, right? So you can show this, you can show that, you can show that. Right? Especially if you have something that you report on a daily basis, right? All you have to just do is keep your database, right? And you can even change this to a data table, right? So that you can just automatically update it on a month by month basis, right? And automatically this updates, right? The only thing about it that I mean pivot table is that let's say you add a new data and this is not a pivot, is not is a range table. You have to come and update the data. So for example, if you come, let me remove this from being into that table and make it a range table, for example. Right. Yeah, so this is a range table, right? And let's say I want to add a new thing, for example, right? And it's of supermarket, right? Let me just call it value market. So we know that this is totally new. We usually have 3 types, but now let's say I put value market, something totally different, right? Now, if I come here, I don't automatically see value market because initially it took my range for the pivot table and it ended in 5115, I mean 15122, right? If I if I have to see that thing, particular thing there, I have to come to my analysis, come to change data sources, right? And now I because stop 112, I have to now make it 11. I mean, 123. But if I click enter, right? Sorry. If I come here and come to change data sources, right? And I select the new data source, right? This is my new data source. I click on this and click on OK, right? Data source is connected to filter, blah, 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 cannot be changed. First, disconnect the controls. Yeah, okay. I mean, I can't change that because I've already connected it to setting control. So let me just create a new data table that's not connected to anything, right? For example, let me create a new pivot table. Sorry, let me just create a new pivot table that's not connected to anything, right? Insert, um, sorry, a new pivot table, and now let me remove this, right? I just show us the dynamics that are involved, right? So let me create a new pivot, insert pivot table, sorry, insert pivot table range, right? And now let's just do types and total profit, for example, right? So this is type and sum of total profit, right? Now, if as I mentioned before, right? If I come here, a pivot table, and I come and add something, right? So let me add this, and let me add um um general market, for example, general market, right? And make this um 21,000, something like that, right? Now, it doesn't automatically update in my table here, right? Even if I come here and I click on refresh, right? It doesn't update, right? In my table, right? Um, what I have to do now is to go on the table, go to my analysis, go to my change data sources, right? And now add that role. I just added. Come here, right? Add the role, click on OK. You can see now general market appears, right? That's the dynamic, right? But if this was a data table, it will automatically update. All I have to do is just come. I mean, sorry, it will not automatically update. All I have to do is come here, click on refresh, right, and it will update the table. Right? I don't have to now change data source every time, right? So if this was as I said, if I come here and I make it a data table, right? All I have to do is when I come here and I add something else, right? And instead of general market, I put value market, for example, right? When I come here, you can see it doesn't update. All I have to do is come to pivot analysis, come to click on refresh, and it refreshes, right? I don't have to go and change source as well, right? So if you make any updates on the main data, you must come here and refresh the data so that all your analysis will pick it up, right? So it's as simple as that. That's how you create stunning dashboard. I mean, obviously you can make it finer, and maybe remove the grid lines, right? I mean, that different things you can do. Like come here, remove the grid lines, right? I can hide every other part here and hide it, right? Make it finer. Like that. There's so many things you can do, right? Just to make it fine. Maybe I don't like the colors. You can change the colors. It's up to you. Like I just shows the possibility that are involved in creating stunning dashboards, stunning templates using using um using pivot tables. Right. Thank you very much. If you have any question, I will take them tomorrow. Yeah, any question on pivot table at all, I'll take them tomorrow in our last class. Thank you so much for joining, and see you tomorrow, day 23 now. We're very, very, very close to the finish line. See you, our final week in this 31 days marathon. Bye, everyone.